YouTube? This is Sean with Average Airsoft Player, and today I'll be reviewing the Cybergun Plastic Thompson. Before we jump into the review, first I want to tell you guys about some upcoming videos relating to this. Number one, I'll be reviewing my Cybergun Metal Thompson, which is a Tokyo Marui clone. Next video, I'll be showing you how to convert your plastic and metal Thompsons to an electric blowback, which is really cool considering the King Arms is $400. I did it under $2 with about 30 minutes of time and some machine tools, and I made an EBB out of this and my metal Thompson. Third video, there are a lot of rumors floating around that supposedly this is a direct Marui clone. That's true to a point. They say the gearbox is a Marui clone plastic gearbox, which is somewhat true, which in that next video I will be confirming all the rumors about magazines, gearboxes, and interchangeable parts between the plastic Thompson and the metal Thompson and TM clone Thompsons. But alright, let's go ahead and jump into it. First, I'm going to show you a picture slideshow with some statistics on the plastic Thompson. Alright, so now onto the internal and external structural overview. First, I'll be starting with the external structural overview, and of course it's very detailed, so be ready. This is going to take a while. We'll work our way from the back of the stock to the end of the muzzle, and then internally from the battery up to the end of the barrel. Alright, starting with the external overview. This is the plastic butt plate. If you guys are familiar with the metal Thompsons, the cleaning trap door does not open and pull out and turn. To remove the butt plate, you have a little switch here, which has an arrow, which I'll bring it in closer. You push that up, or pull it up, it's kind of hard. And then you just pull the butt plate off, and there is your Tamiya connector for a small type battery. It does not have any sort of fuse box because it's only intended to be run on an 8.4 volt battery. And you can't really stuff a bigger battery in there, and I don't recommend it, but I'll get to that on the internal overview. Full plastic stock, correct to an M1A1 Thompson. It's actually pretty decent looking. It looks about the same as the metal Thompson stock, and it has that nasty seam because it's obviously plastic. This stock, though, isn't compatible with TM upgrade stocks or other stocks because the screw here, as you can see, is just wood. On the metal Thompson, that's removable, and it assists in the takedown of the Thompson. The two screws are on the bottom. Probably with some modification, you could fit a wood set on here, but honestly, I don't recommend putting that much money into a plastic gun. Now, moving up to the upper receiver here. Full plastic upper receiver, which feels relatively sturdy. Seems like some thick ABS plastic. The rear sight is correct to an M1A1 Thompson. The wings to guard the sight, which one thing really cool about this sight here, which I'll bring it up, the rear sight is fully adjustable for windage, which you just push it side to side, and elevation, which you pull it up and push it down, which I'll sight that gun in before we do the structural overview. It has some really cheesy looking licensing going on here. It's just like really simple and stamped on there. Moving up to over here. The bolt handle, the EBB mod broke on this one. I didn't put it together very well, but it was just a matter of me not gluing it enough. So the bolt handle doesn't move freely, unlike the metal one, which has the EBB mod. And the bolt handle comes about to here, and you can actually see the plastic cylinder and the plastic piston through there in the gearbox. It doesn't make a really good sound. It's really plasticky. Compared to the metal one, it makes a much better sound. Opposing side, metal safety. When this knob, when the little rod here is faced to the rear, it's on safe. When it's flipped around, it's on fire. And then the fire selector is up here. When it's pointing to the rear, it's on semi-automatic. And when you flip it to the front, it's on fully automatic. A plastic magazine release, which actually feels really cheesy. I'm afraid that might break. You simply push up and remove your plastic 30-round magazine. They say it's 100. There might be different magazines. I don't know. Mine actually came with a 30-rounder, a real cap if you're a simulation guy, but for skirmishing, that's not very good. On the other side, plastic hop-up adjustment, which the hop-up is a direct Marui clone. Once again, as I said, I took it apart and compared my metal and this. It is a Marui clone. Alright, now to actually taking the magazine out. Full plastic magazine held together by some screws, which I'm afraid this might be weak, so it can break. King Arms 110 round bid capacity magazines will work with this gun. I've had some faulty feeding issues with the CYMA high cap magazine, but maybe that was just that specific magazine. I should get another one because it feeds funny in my other gun too. But this is the one that comes with it. Get some King Arms 110 round mid caps. Plastic trigger, which feels like it has some mass to it. It's relatively sturdy. The weak point structurally on all Thompsons, I don't care which version it is, I've heard the same thing from them all. Where the receiver meets the barrel. Oh yeah, plastic lower receiver. This joint here splits in half. As you can kind of tell, it's really weak. It's a separate piece. Even on the metal Thompson, it's notorious for splitting, and all it has are these two screws holding it on, which is very weak. And as I said, it breaks real easy. Broke on my friend's metal Thompson, and I've heard it happening to the plastics and other metals. A plastic pistol grip, which once again feels cheesy because it's plastic and it has a seam running down it. There's no motor adjustment screw, unlike the metal Thompson. Front grip is plastic, and once again, cheesy. There's a seam there. A metal front sling hoop, which definitely does not look authentic, but hey, it's a $80 AEG. What are you going to expect? Non-adjustable front sight post, and a non-removable front sight muzzle compensator. I don't even know if you would call that a compensator. That's just the end of the barrel. Alright, that about does it for the external structural overview. Let's go ahead and move on to the internal overview. Okay, so now to the Cybergun plastic internal overview. This is one of the first guns I've popped apart for you guys, which I'll go ahead and show you. Remember, in a couple weeks, the comparison between this and the metal Thompson will be unveiled, so subscribe and stay tuned. Little small type Tamiya connector, 16 gauge wire, no fuse box, just like I thought before. Wire runs up through here, through the receiver, then it appears like some hot glue's holding that there. It's very strange. Wires run down to the motor at the positive and negative terminals. Motor mount, or motor case I should say really, is forged into the gearbox shell. It's not separate. Compared to my metal Thompson, the shell itself is identical, like this part here. So I'm actually assuming you could possibly fit some gears. You can definitely put a cylinder in, because when I compare them side by side, they're identical. So that pretty much might mean the piston and the spring. It appears to be a TM clone, other than the motor mount here. The gearbox itself is not, but the internals appear to be. No structural cracks so far. I was afraid this thing would start cracking, but I skirmished this thing 5 times and not seeing any cracks in the shell, and no burn marks or anything. Gears, especially when I pull back the piston, which I can't do it now since I don't have the battery, when I pulled it back, I don't see any teeth starting to strip, and any of the gears I can visibly see. Like on this side, you can actually see some more gears. None of them appear to be stripping or anything. Alright, now that you see that, let's go ahead and flip this over. There's your hop-up unit, which is actually directly an identical clone to the TM. It's the same one in my metal Thompson. Once again, stay tuned and subscribe, and I'll have a comparison video of these two up so you can see what's the same and what's not. And there's not much more internally. The barrel just runs from there right before the end of the muzzle compensator. And the only really significant difference is it's plastic between the metal one. Bolt handle, this isn't really important, but you see, whoops, spring stretches there when I move the bolt handle. The tape's on there because I'm doing an EBB mod, which once again, subscribe, and I'll show you how to turn this into an electric blowback, which is really nifty. Subscribe, and you should see that in the next couple weeks. And alright, let's go ahead and move on to the shooting review. Now we insert the battery. There's a piece of foam there which keeps the battery from rattling around. You put it in there. And then you take your Tamiya connector and plug your battery in. There we go. Then neatly tuck the wires down to the bottom here. Make sure there's no extreme tension on the wires to keep them from splitting. Then take your butt plate and slide it back on. And then pull that tab down to lock it. Alright, so now to inserting your magazine. It's very simple. The male rails on the magazine go into the female rails of the Thompson. Just give it a positive tap. Then you flip the gun off safety, and we're on semi-automatic. Flip this around to fully automatic. I'll go ahead and show you a rate of fire demonstration on a fully charged 8.4 volt battery. Alright, so there's your rate of fire. Semi-automatic. Alright, so there you have it. Now let's go on to the accuracy demonstration. Alright, so now into the accuracy demonstration. We'll be shooting at a target exactly 62 feet away. Yes, trolls, I did take my tape measure to that. That target is 62 feet away. We will be using G&G .20 gram BBs. I have already sighted the gun in and have made sure that the hop-up is properly adjusted. Alright, so now that you know all that, we're going to go ahead and get onto it. Take it off safety on semi-automatic, and I'm going to use this trash can for support so my results will be as accurate as possible. Get it? Accurate? Accurate results? Funny? No? I'm sorry. Alright, back to shooting. Alright, 10 test shots at a target exactly 62 feet away. Alright, so that was it. Let's go ahead and see our results. Alright, so here are our accuracy results. Looks like I was aiming a little bit low. Here's my hand for demonstration. And there's some paper clips you can see. We have 1 stray down here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the 10th one I actually heard veer off and hit the fence, so it missed. I'll back up a little more so you can get an idea of the size of the target. The grouping is just in there, and I guess I should have adjusted my hop up a little more. Maybe it was a little low, but the grouping's pretty decent considering it's a little plastic AEG. Now on to the conclusion. Alright, so that concludes it for the detailed overview. Now on to the conclusion. For the average airsoft player, remember this show is oriented to high school students or even middle schoolers. I know some of you are watching this, and you guys have very little income or no income. So this gun is $80. It's really, really cheap. Personally, I don't really recommend it really, but if you end up getting one of these cheap, or if you are a die-hard Thompson fan, this is a decent way to start. The plastic gearbox is sturdy enough for the muzzle velocity it produces, and it has the range and the accuracy of the metal Thompsons, well actually almost the range of the metal Thompson, but the only problem is it lacks in rate of fire compared to the metal Thompson or any other metal AEGs. For about $20 to $40 more, you can go ahead and get the CYMA AK-47, the JG G36, or the JG M4, which do perform a whole lot better than this and have a whole lot more upgradability capabilities. So if you end up getting one, it's a cool gun. If you're a die-hard Thompson fan, go ahead and get it. I'm a World War II buff fanatic, so I got mine for $60 used. I'm not complaining. I like it. Magazines are TM compatible. Even though it's only a 30-rounder, I still use it in my metal Thompson. And it's still a really neat investment. But as I said, for the average airsoft player, if you need your first gun, I'd recommend just spending $20 more and getting the CYMA AK-47 unless you're a Thompson die-hard fan. But alright, that wraps it up for the Cybergun Plastic Thompson. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And also, go to Facebook.com and search Average Airsoft Player Television. There is a Facebook group now. Submit your pictures, and you'll have the chance to be in some of my subscriber slideshows. I say chance because I'm not sure how many people will, but I can pretty much guarantee you'll get 1 or 2 of your pictures in there. Also, I'm doing a voting system now. Whenever I have an abundance of airsoft guns that I haven't reviewed, or some gear, or you want to know something, I usually have votes and polls saying, hey, what video do you want next week? And I'll throw that video together. Right now, I actually have one up between some guns, and there's some voting going on. I'm going to see what gun I'm going to review next week. But alright, as I said, that concludes it. And remember, this is Sean with Average Airsoft Player, and thank you for watching.